Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Fashion is something that I've always been highly interested in while playing games, and genuinely it's to the point that if one of the games I'm browsing don't even have options for customization, I'm just not going to touch it. I can't be the only one who's like this, right? So you've probably heard of games such as Genshin Impact, Final Fantasy XIV, Infinity Nikki, Black Desert Online, Heartopia, or even any of the old social avatar sites. Zwinky, Imvu, Habbo, or even AWOL Now. Not AWOL Now? Anyone? Does anyone remember AWOL Now? Anyway, today we're actually talking about an over 20-year-old game called Mabinogi. Wait, before the name and the graphics scare you. I promise I wouldn't be making this video if I felt that it wasn't worth talking about. This game is actually in the process of updating their engine and graphics in a project called Eternity. I'll put some footage up so you can kind of get an idea on how it'll very soon transfer over from everything else that I'll be showing you. For some history, Mabinogi is your classic MMORPG that was developed over in South Korea by DevCat Studio. You can actually find the mascot as an NPC in-game, which I find really fun. It's also been published by Nexon worldwide since its creation, which puts it alongside MapleStory, Vindictus, and Blue Archive. The idea was that you could use this game to live out your fantasy life, which may or may not include, dressing however you want. Yeah, we'll get into that, don't worry. You could also dip your toes in combat, create and play custom music with your friends, decorate a homestead, or just come home from your job to do more jobs, because this game has part-time jobs you can do for their NPCs. It's a whole system. There is so much stuff that you can do in this game, I could ramble forever, but let's get into the customization. When you create a character, you get to select one of three races: human, elf, and giant. Human being the neutral pick, elf having pointy ears and optional face markings, and giant being larger with more muscular features and optional facial markings and facial hair. You also get to choose the age, which only has an effect on the height of your character. Your head stays the same size throughout the list, so most people who are interested in a more chibi style could definitely get the look with the younger options. Maybe not so much if you chose a giant though. There are more options to becoming even taller or shorter in the game, but they're more of a temporary thing, achieved through equipable items or consumables. Male characters usually benefit the most with height boosting insoles, and it's become a massive trend in recent years to see these characters stylishly towering over others. And for anyone wondering, males and females are the same height. So for example, a 15-year-old male character would be the same height as a 15-year-old female character. Normally, I would skip over the skin tones, however, the amount of skin tones available is actually vast enough that players have made custom races or species. Do you want to be a goblin? Go for it! Goblins were an active community for a moment, but you can still see them around today. What about a zombie? In the last year, I met someone who had entire lore made up of their character and their adorable zombie appearance. There was even this one player I knew who originally customized their character as a goblin, but then later switched to something like a centaur? I can't remember if it was a centaur or not, but it must have been something along the line. The whole creating custom races thing interests me so much that when I brought up this topic in the official Discord server, someone sent this message asking where the lizard people are. So I went on the Korean simulator and threw this whole guide together. No idea if it's any good. While I'm on the skin tone topic, I feel it's also the right time to bring up how players will dye parts of their clothes to match their skin tone in order to achieve specific appearances. I'll talk about the dyes later on. Two of the most notable examples of this is when an outfit has dyeable stockings that people change into a bare leg look, and heels being dyed to give the appearance of having no socks, usually matching the first example. Of course, this can also go the other way around, where clothes will be dyed to look like they are wearing stockings, or socks. I guarantee you have not heard of a game that does this, and this is just the beginning. Even though this game doesn't have the in-depth modern sliders during creation that, let's say, Inzoi has, the amount of face shapes, eyes, mouth, and hairstyles available might make it even better for most people, even if you're limited at first. I'm gonna give you guys some numbers, but keep in mind I use a female human, so that's what I counted off of. Male characters and other races may have more or less options. Starting off with just over 50 face shapes to begin your look. You've got bandaged faces, painted faces, tons of blush faces, freckled faces, scarred faces, the list goes on. Something to note is they'll affect where the rest of the facial features sit on your character's head, but perhaps it might make your desired look work even better for you? The shapes I tend to use myself are very limited, but I like to use pointy oval blush face, pointy freckled face, pointy blush face, and the newest elegant noble face. You can clearly see which shape I favored for quite a while. Next, with over 400 different eye styles you'll be able to choose from. You've got sparkly eyes, glow-in-the-dark eyes, thick eyebrowed eyes, crying eyes, closed eyes, angry eyes, happy eyes, normal eyes, whatever these eyes are, and much, much more. My personal favorites would be the brilliant jewel eyes, Morrigan's eyes, strong-willed eyes, fox eyes, Iolar's eyes, interlake eyes, and witch eyes. There were a couple of years where every new eye style released would also have an animated effect counterpart, but that trend seems to have died down as of recently. However, during this same time frame, they also started releasing what are called white crested eyes. Generally, these are exact copies with the exception of white eyelashes instead of the more common black. More natural eyelashes when, by the way. I've seen a good amount of people in-game pair these up with white or really light hair colors, and it can look absolutely ethereal. Maybe you could use these in the winter to look as though you have snow all over your eyelashes. One last little fun fact I have for the eyes, and it's sort of a silly one, but I thought I should mention it. Mabinogi's characters never used to be able to blink until the early 2020s. Ew. I can't believe I just said that. It's already the second half of 2020. Continuing on with over 150 mouths available, there are kitty mouths, drooling mouths, classic frowns and smiles, smirks, mouths with their tongues out, open mouths, lips, silly mouths, and many, many more. My favorite mouths are the soft lips, pouting lips, slightly opened pink lips, wine red lips, and red glossed lips. So apparently I just like lip styles a lot. Good to know. Something not a lot of people know, even a large chunk of the player base, is your skin tone actually has an effect on what colors some of your mouth styles will show up with. When I use a pale skin tone, most of my lip options come out as a blush or a peach, whereas if I use a dark skin tone, the same lip options mostly come out as different tones of red. To this day we don't know why there's a difference, but at the same time there isn't really anyone asking about it, so we might actually never know. Definitely jealous of the red lips though, I must say. Not biased or anything. Now, for the hairstyles. There's a massive assortment of over 200 hairstyles to choose from, including longer styles, short styles, ponytails, pigtails, braids, a jellyfish cut with braids, and of course, many more. I tend to lean more towards the longer styles currently, such as the Haze Rivian long straight hair, thick wave layered hair, or Celestial Eminence hair. But I'd say my favorite short style would be the Elemental Harmony hair, which first showed up as an equipable wig. The great thing about having this whole list to choose from is you don't really need to be tied down to just one. The dressing room system the game has lets you save each of your customization choices in an empty slot, where you can just switch between them at any given time, your base amount of empty slots being 3. You can save different colors too. Unfortunately, the only issue to saving them is that Nexon, trying to make money as they do, has locked the addition of more empty slots behind their pawn currency, which you can only, outside of very few events, buy with your real-life cash. Sad, but I guess that's almost every game now. And who knows, maybe the price is worth it to you. Anyway, I find myself the most excited to see what new hairstyles come out whenever they bring out one of the beauty gachas. Beauty gachas, or beauty boxes, have been almost the only sole way you get new releases, but you can get around paying any real money for them by just buying them in-game for gold from other players. Gold is Mabinogi's free in-game currency. There are quite a number of looks you can achieve because of the sheer amount of options the game has, but this also likely doubles or triples when we bring wigs into the count. This is going to be our gateway into talking about the part most people would like to hear about. Clothing. Fashion. Since wigs are pretty much hairstyles that can be worn in place of a hat. Although these items weren't released intended to be used this way, I've had my moments where I've used both the Floral Regalia wig and the Iceborne Noble wig to give my outfit a just walked out of the ocean, wet hair kind of appearance. Of course, that's just my own example of how you could switch things up and be creative with the use of wigs. Some wigs have the addition of a dyeable part just to be able to have colored streaks, or maybe they have hats or head accessories attached as a bonus. And what can I really say about hats outside of the fact that there are, once again, just so many? Do you like berets? What about baseball caps? Crowns or tiaras? Hair ribbons? Well, that one right now might be... moving on. We can even go into the animal ears, antlers, fins, for all the furries out there. Are you a wizard, Harry? You can use wizard hats. Helmets for all the armored looks. I've got this weirdly cute bomb hat that sits on the top of your head and stays lit. There's also the time I use this one hat that looks eerily similar to a certain pair of mouse ears with a ribbon to pretend my character's visiting the happiest place on Earth. But that's enough about hats. Gloves are a little more of a boring section for me to talk about, but I'm gonna do my best. For the people who are potentially more interested. Alongside your normal selection of gloves any game might have, so bracelets, gauntlets for battle gear, long and short gloves, frilly, edgy, adventurous. You also get access to animal paws, florals, different types of manicures, bandages, jellyfish cuffs. Now I'm just spewing random selections. There's a lot of different gloves, guys. I promise. There's also a smaller selection of gloves that have effects attached to them like this dainty bracelet that has hearts coming out of it, or the ever so popular couples gloves that give a sparkly effect when you're near your partner, but give an arrow pointing towards that partner when they're not close to you on the same map. Shoes are an obsession for a good chunk of people, and shocker, you can live it out in Mabinogi too. There are so many heels, which I'll once again also bring up that you can choose to have socks or no socks, with most of them by just dyeing them how you like. Maybe you're an everything boots type of person. Long boots, short boots, boots with a heel or without a heel, boots with the fur, symmetrical or asymmetrical, fully armored up boots, and of course, boots with cute accessories like ribbons. We've also got the classic runners, or sneakers as the Americans like to call them. That could be plain, glow in the dark, old school with the Velcro, you could have leg warmers attached, and the cutely designed kind. Look how cute those hearts are. I love how I dyed that. Personally, I'm not often a fan of flats, but the game has some of those as well. What I do obsess over are platform shoes, or chunky shoes in general, which there are also a ton of, so if you're as passionate about them as I am, you'll have a lot of fun with them. Following along what I've said for the other clothing pieces, I wanted to make sure to bring up that there are animal paws for shoes as well. Honorable mention for animal shoes would have to be the cheerleader boots that I've seen being used in a form of hoofs. Hoops? Dishonorable mention for the shoes category would have to be the absolute terror that is currently the beach vacation pedicure. Because what is that? The old school foot model? Maybe it'll have a glow up in the new engine. Facewear is sort of a broad term for the next section of clothing that used to be called face accessories. When you think of facewear, you'll mostly picture earrings, masks, glasses, and anything in that general area of your face. The hats and facewear items tend to overlap with each other at times, with examples being both having different or the same glasses, facewear having what would normally be considered a hat, but it's got earrings, so it's not, or both having horns. Technically, it could overlap with face shapes also, since you can get items like scars, bandages, or blush. The good thing about all of this is that because these are considered different categories, you'll be able to wear a lot of these articles at the same time on your character. So for earrings, we've got a wide array of examples. The classic giant stars, giant hoops, snowflakes, dainty chains, ribbons, teardrops, crystals, a moon with a star, butterflies, and suns, which have personally been my favorite currently. Thinking about it in the moment, it's odd at this point that we don't have a necklace category. We could have chokers. Anyway, no sidetracks. Glasses. The circle lenses, square or rectangular lenses, sunglasses, they've got glasses that come with a lanyard, and silly glasses. As for masks, ironically I feel as though masks have become pretty trendy in the 2020s. The world has come up with different ways and styles to wear a mask, and Mabinogi's no different. One of the classes or talents in the game is Ninja, my main. And because of that, probably not actually because of that, there's masks surrounding that whole theme. Surgical masks are another obvious choice. What I'm more interested in telling you guys about are the fancy styles, like edgy glowing teeth, animal melts, gas masks, and I'm gonna put this in here anyway, facial hair. I know that's out of nowhere, but beards or mustaches are in there too. Some extra facewear stuff that I could show off would be eye masks, helmet-ish, armor-ish headgear, antlers, hollow effects, which are like filters you'd put over selfies, feathers, head runes, and a ton of other items. When I bring up robes or wings, I do really mean robes or wings, due to the fact that these two pieces are equipped in the same slot. There's a way that you can wear both of them at the same time, however, that could be for a whole different video. Robes are exactly what you would expect a robe to be. It's an item that pretty much covers up almost your entire body and usually includes an interactable hood depending on your preference. All of the robes are very different, but there's so many to choose from that you're bound to find one that you'll like. Some examples include the classic nostalgic muffler robe, Habona robe, jester robe, Ladeka robe, and tribal bird robe. If you're into more silly outfits, you might be interested in the penguin robe, mushroom robe, gummy bear costumes, or baby dinosaur costume. Now, if you wanted to spread your wings, pun intended, you could take a look at some of these examples. Hummingbird wings, sprite wings, cobweb wings. As you can see, some are just back accessories, dragon wings, destroyer wings, and many others. Every year brings a gacha for the sole purpose of releasing a healthy variety of wings to the community. Keep in mind when deciding on a pair you'd like that some are animated to flap while others aren't, and there are also a lot of undyeable versions. If you want to be safe and try the wings on ahead of time, you can do so by going into the robes tab within the dressing room. Most of the recent dyeable versions will have the word glorious preceding the item's name. One last note for the wings as well. There's some older pairs that could only be dyed with a specific dye that was released in a gacha, usually alongside the wings themselves. When I say specific dye, I do mean a completely separate item from the regular dyes that we use today for every other piece of clothing. So it's something that they might have figured was a terrible idea. Where do I even begin with body clothing? Mabinogi has over 100 pages each worth in the dressing room of female and male bodywear. I'd wholeheartedly recommend that if you plan to test the game out that you flip through the dressing room and write down a list of what outfits you like the most. You can just click on them to try them in a random color. The only downside I have to bring up before showing some examples is that unfortunately we're still restricted to male and female clothing being male and female. They do have outfits that have a lund in the name, which are pre-existing outfits in a gender-swapped form, but the list is smaller than it should be. Luckily, people still creatively get around the restrictions all the time and dress however they like, so it shouldn't be hard to join them anyway. Alright, now for the examples. For female characters, dresses can come in frilly, lacy, poofy, summery, armored, elegant, racy, leg slit, no leg slit, festive, long, short, gigantic flower, etc., etc. Pant, suit, and jumpsuit options are also available, but a little more scarce. Full sweaters, shorts, skirts, swimsuits, bath towels, work uniforms, space suits, outdoor coats, or anything else you could probably think of are included as options. I've especially been liking using the really feminine dresses alongside other pieces of clothing that are armored up to give off battle maiden vibes. Male characters normally have both long pant and short versions of their bodywear, which I'll put on screen for you to take a look at. Suits and casual wear are also very common, but armor, sweaters, swim trunks, work uniforms, spacesuits, and outdoor coats also apply as options too. Adding another layer to the bodywear, a lot of them come with idle poses. So instead of just standing there straight and boring, each idle outfit you collect will create another level of depth to your wardrobe. Idols are bound to a specific outfit, but once it's been stored in your dressing room, you'll be able to use it with other outfits that also use idle poses. Typically, you'll find that there are more basic motions, as well as edgy, cutesy, performative, prop-heavy, chaotic, graceful, and beyond. Moving on to accessories and Stardust, unlike what you'd immediately expect a regular accessory to be, so jewelry, gloves, or anything smaller to add to the outfit, it's generally just a style item that floats around your character, unless it's also a combat support puppet. Once again, Stardust is pretty much the same, but is also used for even more combat in the game, which we aren't talking about in this video. That's why I'm listing it alongside accessories. Although most regular accessories can't be dyed, you'll find there's still a good variety of colors available. Stardust, on the other hand, is fully dyeable, however, can be a little wonky on where those colors sit on each appearance option. The differing options can include pieces that are overpowering, which I know some people really like, or of course, something more simple or dainty, which are more my thing personally. Accessory examples include stars, animals, fairies, ornate ornaments, visual pop-ups, halos, small humanoids, flowers, and more. Examples for Stardust include orbs, butterflies, tech gadgets, fruit, gems, computer windows, ribbons, or even what could be the closest thing to a Sims plumb bob, if dyed and used correctly. Props are huge in Mabinogi. Like, you can pretty much list any item you can hold or sheath as a prop, and potentially give it a visual effect. I'm going to go straight into a ton of examples that could make or break a look since we all know what a prop is. Tons of differing gigantic flowers, purses, backpacks, clutches, plushies galore, quill pens, any regular weapon, umbrellas, candies, a sparkler, books, tablets, consoles, cameras, vans, a compass, scooters, skateboards, surfboards, pom-poms, baseball bats, brooms, bubble or pedal blowers, drinks, stacks of advertising papers and clipboards, hand puppets. I don't know what to tell you, these lists go on forever. Giving these items a visual effect just means adding a thing called spirit liquor, which could be something like hearts or sparkles. Chairs don't quite fit in the same position as the props do due to them not being wearable, but they still fulfill a similar role. This game is so fashionable that the fashion even leaks into how you sit around. Come on now. Sure, you have the option to sit on basic, classic chairs, but why not get more creative? What if we decide we want to lay down on a giant fluffy rabbit? Or a slice of bread? Float in a scientific incubator? Play with a claw machine? Show off your sweet ride? Wake up in a blooming flower? Chill in a book nook or near a window? Grab some frozen treats? Water a floating garden? I'm gonna stop there, but on top of all that, there's the option to enjoy chairs with your friends. Not all chairs come with the option, but when it's available, it can be really fun. You know how some games have little systems where you can attach nicknames, prefixes, or suffixes, and it's usually really limited? Heartopia is a culprit here. Yeah, so the titles in this instance are a lot different. What they call first titles are something similar to what I just described, but they're super creative, and players even have the option sometimes to write their own. Then you've got the second titles, which show up next to your name as a little badge. Almost, but not all second titles come with a visual effect that fits with their name. I made a video in 2025 of my top 100 best cosmetic second titles too. Some examples of effects? Floating hearts, sparkles, flower petals, colorful and dark auras, reactions, water splashes, toxic vapors and electricity, confetti, fireflies, light rays, ghosts, cherries, and more. If you're someone who's picky about color coordinating, there should still be a second title you'll find fits, but there are also times where they'll release reskins of the same title for this reason. Dyes or the ability to pick the color of your clothing is something I know a lot of you were waiting to hear about. And yes, it's true, you can do pretty much anything you want with these. Pick your RGB code and you've got a plan. I'm not going to get into the difference between regular dyes, DIYs, and fine DIY dyes because I already have a video up that shows that, so go check that out if you give the game a shot. What I will go more into depth about is what you can use the dyes on. Clothing is almost always completely dyeable, with the exception being sometimes small pieces of an item or maybe a crossover outfit keeping true to its title. You can pick what color you want on each part, they're labeled A through F, and even come with a button to be able to preview the color you're looking to use. Other dyeable pieces using slightly differently specified dyes include musical instruments, pets, stardust, and hair. Hair is a little bit of an interesting one because it only has limited options to choose from and you can't just input your own code. It's a little disappointing, but every year-ish they seem to come out with new tones, so hopefully and eventually you'll be able to grab one that suits your aesthetic. Then there's always the potential that during the Eternity update they'll change it altogether and let us choose. Please. Mabinogi players would also bully me if I didn't bring up the flashy dyes. Flashy dyes give you the ability to dye your clothing multiple colors that sort of bounce between each tone. Sometimes this can unfortunately be evil on the eyes if someone decides to do what is called a seizure flashy, but most times people will make beautiful creations that slowly pulse or switch at a slow pace. For the months that I was writing this script, Nexon actually added a new item that lets you choose the colors of your in-game name and chat bubble colors, so that was nice. As much as I don't want to call pets a part of fashion, they can be used as such in this setting. If anything, I'd find mini-gems, the smaller non-pet counterparts, more fitting to this topic. Pets are pets, we know what they are, and can be summoned every single day in the game. Mini gems are an item that sits somewhere in your inventory and can summon whichever being or prop it's made to be. Coming in all shapes and forms, pets can stick near you for an extra touch or add to your shopfront aesthetic. The most popular type of pets come from the last couple of years and include the Corgi, Purling, and Bun Bun, with a hamster coming out soon. These pets in particular are gigantic in comparison to their real-life counterparts, but can be shrunk to walk or play with. Other examples of pets include, but aren't limited to, foxes, ferrets, lizards, imps, horses, griffins, clouds, differently sized birds, food trucks, whales, mythical deer and wolves, snowmen, dragons, Pegasus and unicorns, sheep, flying brooms, pandas, elephants, and cars. My fox minigem that I called Pepper has been with me since its release, which is over 10 years now, and I still don't know what I would do without it next to me. If you picked the right minigem, you might just end up like me. Here's some more examples. Koopa, whales, watermelon, rabbits, cats, slime, mini NPCs, and many more. Honestly, I would list more, but I don't really have too many in my possession to show off since I've got Pepper. With all the information I've given you on creating your perfect, fashionable character, I wanted to take a moment to give a little more love to just how far you can go with cosplay examples. I've personally done a couple of cosplays myself, so I'll show you some of those first, even if they are a couple years old now. Here's a Sailor Venus and Jupiter from Sailor Moon, the cutest little Night Fairy Cleon from Puzzle Bobble or Bust-a-Move 4, Starfire from Teen Titans, and Jane Porter from Disney's Tarzan. Now for the real gold stars, some cosplays I saved from other players. Dragonfly's characters from Silent Hill F, Lily Chan's Donald Duck, the Naruto crew who were on alt characters so I don't know who made them but they're amazing, Water's Yzma, Super Loser's Papa Smurf, which by the way Super Loser has so many cosplays it's insane and they're so good, shout out Super Loser, the Pokemon Delibird, Spartan 117's Master Chief, and Sunberry's Raven from Teen Titans. These are technically also a couple years old now, but there's always someone outdoing themselves, and so could you! One last part I'd like to talk about is the absolute heart of Mabinogi's fashion. That same community I was just talking about. Even if they aren't making cosplays, there's always so many good looks to sit in awe at. Not only does this community consistently post their styles on social media, but there's also multiple Discord communities focused on the creative side. Every so often, events are also held to showcase what people can do. Fashion contests, parades, get-togethers, you name it. Sort of a personal shameless plug for myself that I think is worth mentioning is the Mablog magazine videos that I post every now and then, or the outfits I like shorts that have blown up, for good reason. I'm going to end this with an array of looks by the community I picked up through browsing. Maybe something will catch your eye and inspire you. Thanks so much for sticking with me through this essay of a video. I'm not used to making these, this was new for me, so hopefully you guys like it. I really wanted to take the time to actually go into depth on why I'm so passionate about how Mabinogi creates the perfect environment for people to be creative. If anyone from the game's player base is watching and thinks that I've missed something, or if they wanted to add more, please speak up in the comments. For anyone who might be interested in playing the game but aren't quite sure, I say it doesn't hurt to give it a try, and if you don't like it, you can always close the game. There's also a recent beginner Q&A guide video that I uploaded that might help with your decision, but who knows? Let's end with some more future eternity footage. Goodbye!